Welcome to the Horror Hangout, a podcast where film fans watch the best and worst horror movies of all time and talk about them. My name is Ben Errington, and today I'm joined by a very special guest. Jimmy Barnett is a horror fanatic from Melbourne, Australia, writer and host of the Night's End podcast, creator of After the Gloaming, and regular contributor to the Other Stories podcast. Welcome to the show, Jimmy. Hello.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
You're absolutely welcome. Just a quick note. No Andy this week. He is otherwise engaged. I know we've kind of been alternating in terms of hosts for a while, but I have it on good authority that we'll be back together. We'll be reunited next week. Um, but yeah, Jimmy, this is obviously we've discussed this before we started recording. It's been a long time coming because we've collaborated on stuff via the other stories and kind of always
Mm.
chatted over there on the Discord for a long time. And I don't think we've ever spoken face to face like this before. So this is very exciting.
No, I had a similar experience with Luke recently as well.
Oh, you did? You saw Mr. Luke Condor's face for the first time?
Yeah. Oh, well, I see him on his social media and stuff, but yeah, speaking face to face over
Oh,
Zoom,
wow.
you know.
Always a pleasure, isn't it? I mean, obviously, I started this podcast with Luke, and
Yeah.
very occasionally he pops his head back in for a little appearance, usually on quiz episodes and maybe some others.
Mm.
But I think it's been a while since we've had him on, so maybe we need to get Mr. Luke Condor back on there because obviously he, in terms of like zombie fiction, which was one of the reasons that Andy invited you onto the show. Obviously, like Luke's involved in zombie fiction. He's currently writing for the Dead,
Yeah.
George A. Romero podcast. And I think his second part of
Two
run,
episodes are out.
2 episodes are out now. Yeah, I think the last time
Yeah.
we talked about this on the show, only one episode was out, so now 2 episodes are out. Um, but yeah, you're currently working on something zombie fiction wise. You were working on something with Andy, and then you were doing a sort of rejig of a Night's End episode. Is that correct?
Yeah, so when I first started Night's End podcast, I had no idea about audio editing, audio production whatsoever. So first heard your podcast, the other stories, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome, and sort of had like at through school, sort of had an exposure to it. So I'm like, ah, this has got to be pretty easy, right? This has got to be pretty easy. So dipped my toe in, got into it, and yeah, busted out a whole season, and I think it was like 28 episodes or something like that. All my narration and but just stumbling along the way,
Wow.
learning Adobe Audition and narration and pacing and stuff like that. And now, yeah, I've been doing that for 3 years, multiple projects now. And yeah, going back and listening to the first season, I'm like, oh man, this is pretty bad, you know. And it's sort of the first impression everyone gets. So, I've sort of been working on season 4 in the background, and I'm like, oh, I really want to redo season 1, but I've been putting it off because it's such a huge job. But no, I dove right in, and now I'm redoing them all. So I think I've done
Wow.
about 20 episodes now. But one of the episodes is an episode called Elevator of the Dead.
Mm.
And it was written by Bram Stoker Award winner Robert P. Atone.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
I wanted to do it justice with multiple voice actors and that this time, whereas it was just me last time doing a woman's voice and a man's.
Oh, lovely.
Um, yeah, so I got a few of them. Andy's played a character in there for me, and yeah,
Oh,
can't
yeah,
wait to
that's cool.
release that one once again.
Amazing, man. Obviously we'll put everything in the show notes for the Night's End podcast. So the first batch of episodes, did you do that completely on your own, and or were you developing stories that have been written by other people as well?
Yeah, so I did get submissions, but yeah, all the production and voice was all me to begin with,
Wow.
and then season 2 I started adding in other voices.
Yeah. How do you prefer like collaborating then to
Oh,
working
I
completely
love I
completely
love
alone?
working with people. Yeah, I love collaborating with people. I love getting people's audio and just splicing it all together like Frankenstein, and making it like when you first start off with an episode and it's just like, man, this is all really horrible, and it just comes out at the end and it sounds great. It's yeah.
Yeah. The magic created
Yeah.
by yourself and sort of others is unbelievable. And I feel like that with the Other Stories podcast, sometimes
Mm,
just listening to something and being like, this is like unbelievable in terms of like the level of quality, and it just really brings that story to life
Mm,
in a way. Because I know some people can be a bit unsure about audio fiction and especially horror as well. I
mm.
think it's like, well, how can I be scared by audio alone? And it's unbelievable the kind of things that like yourself can do as well. So yeah, obviously we're talking about the Night's End podcast, but also After the Gloaming was something that premiered. That was last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, last year.
Last year. Can
9
you,
episodes.
yeah, can you tell us a little bit about that? And there is a second series in the pipeline as well, right?
Yeah, that's right. So, Gothic fiction is something I'm a huge fan of and always wanted. It's not as popular as, straight horror, but I did always want to do sort of a standalone series, following the same format that I do in The Night's End, where there's this meta story that goes throughout the episodes, and then
Mm.
within those stories, within those episodes, there is, a story written by someone else. So yeah, I did that last year. That was 9 episodes, and yeah, I'm currently working on season 2 at the moment. I've accepted all the stories now. I'm now just breaking up all the parts, and I'm about to put a call out. But yeah, I'm working on so much at the moment that I've got some
Yeah.
pretty hard deadlines that I'm trying to hit, but hopefully I can get it all done.
Yeah, man. It's impressive, like the amount of stuff that you're working on constantly. The fact that obviously as a regular contributor to the Other Stories podcast as well, you're always kind of involved in that and not just the production side of things, but also obviously like the voice acting as well.
Mm,
And you've written some episodes, that's correct, isn't it?
yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, of course. So that's like all sides of it as well, which is actually amazing. I think we're extremely lucky to have someone like you on board in the team and obviously putting your name to the podcast as well. Just makes
Oh
us look
yeah.
better as well. It just makes us look better. Uh,
Oh, it's just so good to work with such a great, uh, collaboration of people. Yeah, like when I first started with you guys, it was a lot smaller, but now
mm.
yeah, it's a well-oiled machine now.
Yeah, a well-oiled machine, and obviously creatives from like all across the globe,
Yeah.
but also with like various degrees of experience. And some people are straight up writers, other people do everything like
Mm,
you, obviously. And yeah, it's amazing. And as we mentioned, it's been a bit of an Other Stories special this month on Horror Hangout so far because we had Georgia on the show last week. If listeners aren't entirely aware that what the Other Stories is and the fact that it even exists, despite the fact I think there was an ad for the Other Stories on last week's episode, for me at least. I don't know, was that advertising to me? What's this? Oh, sounds a bit naff, to be fair. It's an audio fiction podcast with new episodes every Monday. Horror, science fiction, what the fuck? That's kind of like the tagline we add to it.
mm,
And yeah, a huge team of collaborators. Um, and yeah, some of the stories are like absolutely amazing. So like to the point where you're just like, this needs to be, I mean, it's absolutely great as audio fiction, but this in any other format, as a movie, as a TV show, would like be
mm.
unreal. So it's a treasure trove of horror episodes. And of course, if you're listening to this podcast, you obviously enjoy horror stories to a degree. There are hundreds on the Other Stories, hundreds to
There
get
is. Yeah.
your teeth into. So yeah,
I like.
obviously, sorry, go on, man. After
No,
you.
that's all right. And what I think is so great about the other stories that's so different to everyone else is you follow a theme for the month. So you
Mm.
get sort of the 4 best stories that were submitted of that, that theme.
Mm. Because then I guess you can kind of like pick and choose what themes you're kind of interested in as well, can't you? So not that
Mm.
I would recommend not listening to every episode. But you know, if one theme pops up and it's like, for example, it's zombies, this theme,
Yeah.
which I think we haven't done since the very early days of the show. But you might be like, I actually hate zombies. You're either terrified of them or you're just bored. You're like, I've seen everything there is to see. I don't need any other zombie stories. You might avoid that, for example. Obviously, don't avoid Elevator of the Dead
No.
remastered. Don't
No.
do that. Never do that. Um, so yeah, I think that is a good thing as well, isn't it? To be able to do that. And of course, when a theme pops up and you're like, oh my God, this is absolutely up my street, then it's unmissable.
Mm.
Um, yeah, so obviously, as we mentioned, Andy invited you onto the show because of Elevator of the Dead. I thought we'd talk about a zombie movie, which of course, if you listen to his episode, you'll know is George A. Romero's Land of the Dead. we've covered the original trilogy of George A. Romero, zombie trilogy, sporadically throughout the history of the show. Um, is are zombies or the undead as a theme in horror cinema? Is that something that you've always loved?
Yeah, Dawn of the Dead. I really love Dawn of the Dead. Night of the Living Dead is probably one of my favorite films for sure,
Mm.
and I think it is for everyone that's into the zombie films. Um, the Evil Dead is my absolute favorite film, and and that's a great zombie film.
The
It's
first one, the
it's
first one.
possession, but yeah, the
Yeah, yeah,
first
yeah.
one. That's
So we
where
have
I
this discussion about Evil Dead usually, where it's like it's strange because Evil Dead 2 seems to be most people's favorite, doesn't it? But
yeah.
perhaps the Evil
Well,
Dead
because
doesn't
it's
get as much.
redone.
Yeah, because
It's sort of the same story redone, yeah.
it's partly a remake, isn't it? Yeah.
It's like he got a
Um,
bit more money, so he's like, "Oh, I want to re-release this because I love it so
he's
much."
doing exactly what you've done with the Night's
Yeah,
End, where he's
yeah,
just
you.
he's looked back on it and gone, "Oh, hang on a minute."
Oh, yeah.
But where does that end though, Jimmy? Because you might look back on these new remastered episodes in
Oh,
5 or 10
I know.
years and be like, "Oh, come on
No, no,
now."
no, no. No, well, now I'm thinking, well, season two, I know that was, no, but I'm not going to touch that.
Season 2, yeah, leave it.
Yeah, yeah,
That's the sweet spot. That's the sweet
yeah,
spot. Obviously, the other stories is sort of like been has done a few of those with these reanimated episodes, and I think they're going to do
yeah,
more as well. It's one of those, isn't it? Like because there was literally four of us initially when we did the original episodes. Like, yes, of course, the production values are going to be very different. Um,
yeah.
so
There
what I
was a
prefer.
story when I first came on board, and sort of my rite of passage with you guys was to remaster one of the old
Oh
episodes, and
wow, okay,
it was Josh Curran narrating, and yeah, the sort of going back and forth with Carl on, all right, well, Jimmy, you got to fix this up, you got to fix that up, and yeah, it was released as I think Patreon
yeah.
special, but yeah, that was my rite of passage,
Oh
redoing one of
wow,
the really old
amazing, man.
episodes.
What I prefer to do is just to never listen back to those old those old episodes, just so you go, hang on a minute. Especially the early ones that I wrote, because I'd be like, oh, I'm not you can't redo this actual whole story, can you? Or can you? Maybe you can. Every
Oh,
word.
I'm actually in my backpack. I've got one of yours that I'm working on. It's been on a bit of a back burner, but yeah,
Oh, okay. If
from the very start. So
unbelievable. If there are any bits of that where you're like, hang on a minute, what were you thinking here when you wrote this? I'm not precious. I'm not precious
yeah,
at all about that. I do remember my zombie story actually, where I tried to. It was me when I was in my like, oh, I'm so edgy and experimental phase, and I was like, I'm gonna write
mm,
a zombie story, and you're not actually gonna see the zombie. There's gonna be no actual zombie in it. And looking back on that, probably I don't know how good a. I mean, as audio, it kind of worked because I guess you heard the zombie through doors and stuff, and like, but
yeah.
apart from that, um, yeah, what were we saying? So the Land of the Dead. Did you sort of see this, and did you see the other two in the sort of the newer George A. Romero kind of trilogy, Diary of the Dead and Survival of the Dead? Did you see those two as well?
No, no, I haven't actually seen them. I haven't.
Okay.
No, so I've sort of only seen the first three.
Mm.
Yeah,
How did you feel about the Zack Snyder remake of Dawn of the Dead?
I loved it.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that.
Did you?
Hell yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
absolutely, absolutely. Like we've done that on the podcast as well.
yeah.
What I was going to say is it's quite weird, isn't it? Because this is 1 year after that film was released. So
After.
yeah,
Oh, right.
2004. I think
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
So I'm kind of wondering how did this how did it wait 2004? Yeah. How must have it impacted this film? Or did it at all? I wonder if George A. Romero, because it was a remake of his film, so I'm sure he saw it. I wonder
Mm,
how that impacted because this is obviously a bigger budget of the Dead film. It feels a lot more Hollywood, um, in
oh,
terms
yeah,
of,
for sure.
yeah, obviously the stars, for example, yes,
Cast. Yep.
the cast, but there's something of I think what made the of the Dead films feel so feels so terrifying was like there was a bit of an isolation to them, wasn't there? Like a
Mm,
desolate isolation. So like expanding the world into this sort of like land of the dead. And there are some kind of similarities. Even like Dead Reckoning, like the big vehicle that they've got, is kind of reminiscent of
mm.
that thing that they put together at the end of Snyder's Dawn of the Dead. Um, and I need to confirm this, but I swear one of the zombies, I was like, I recognize that guy. He is one of the survivors from Dawn of the Dead, the Snyder version. Like they're sort of like a redneck guy. Um, I need to confirm this. I wanted to confirm it before we recorded, but I thought that I thought that'd be quite interesting. Obviously, we see Tom Savini. He was unmissable, right?
Yeah.
When
Yep.
he turned up, um,
100%.
which was great. Any
But
other
no, I
sort of
think you're
favorite?
onto something there. I think I remember
I need
something as well, but
I need to
yeah.
confirm that. I'm gonna look in a second to confirm it because I was like, oh,
Mm,
I reckon. I think he was a survivor in the Snyder Dawn of the Dead. So obviously in this version as well, we've got sort of like I want to say semi-sentient, kind of zombies that are rediscovering their sentience from memories of being alive. How do you feel
mm.
about that? Because obviously Dawn of the Dead has got some of that, with obviously them coming back to the mall, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
back to
not
somewhere
like
that they
this though.
remember. No. How
Now
do you?
look, I wasn't a big fan of it.
Mm.
Like discovering how to use a gun and stuff like that. No, like zombies are mindless, man. The
Discovering that you
only
need to plug things in for them to work. Hang on a minute.
yeah, like that. The
I'm pretty sure
only
that's just me though. I swear I've been working in the garden this weekend. There was at least three occasions where that happened, where someone stopped working. I was like, "What's going on here? Someone's unplugged." Yeah, sorry, man. Go on, go on.
the only sort of different zombie that I accept is, like 28 days later. And that's like a totally different type of zombie and it's like rage. But other than that,
Yeah,
they stumble around just biting things. That's all they are to me. So this
yeah.
movie, I liked it. I liked the sort of the big budget of it and John Leguizamo, like you can't go past him. He's great all the time.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
he is. He's a yeah, and yeah, John Leguizamo and Dennis Hopper. Although Dennis Hopper, I feel like gets
yeah.
maybe it's not as fleshed out a role as it could be.
No, yeah, he's a great bad guy, and in that film, it seemed a bit lacking, I think.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about the main guy, the main character. What's his name? Simon
Simon
Baker
Baker.
as Riley, because
Mm,
he's one of those guys that obviously I know his face. Yeah, he's obviously in
mm,
loads of stuff, loads of movies, loads of TV shows, but
mm.
I don't know if I buy him as a sort of lead actor. I don't know. There was a few things. There's
Ah,
a few performances that were a bit like Asia Argento. I think she's always great, I think, when like
mm.
in everything she's in. I wasn't entirely buying her in this either. I don't know. How many times, I know we're getting into the film before I cover horror news and stuff. How many times did someone like shoot next to someone's head as like a
Ah,
as some weird sort of flex? I don't know what's going
yeah,
on.
like you just would never do that.
It's too risky. It's way too risky.
Yeah.
Like I know it might, no matter how good you are, I'm just gonna machine gun this door that you're stood 3 inches away from, just to make a point.
Mm.
Ridiculous. Okay, so before we get into the main review of the film, I thought I'd talk about a couple of horror news bits for this week. I don't know if you saw just today that Roger Corman has passed away at the age of
No.
98. So obviously true legend in the world of filmmaking,
Mm.
inside the horror genre and outside. But yeah, he sadly passed away at the age of 98. There have been so many tributes to him. Obviously, he's known as the king of the B movie, essentially. But absolutely dozens of tributes across the genres to him as well. So rest in peace, Roger Corman. We will
Mm.
maybe we should pick a film that he was involved in for a soon to be episode. Obviously, in terms of cult classics, things like things he produced were like Chopping Mall, Slumber Party Massacre 2, Brain Dead, um, and his autobiography is called How I Made 100 Movies in Hollywood and Never Lost a Dime. I reckon he lost a dime, at least one dime. Just and then obviously he was involved in things like Sharktopus and Dino Croc versus
Ah,
Super
yeah, yeah.
Gator eventually, which have got their place in the B
They
movie
do.
sphere. But yeah, maybe obviously we've got our May episodes lined up. Maybe we look at something. for June to cover one of his films. Um, okay, and other pieces of news are I don't know if you saw this week that there was a few bits of news going around that the Crystal Lake TV show, the Friday the 13th TV series, was like at risk of being cancelled. So A24 are involved. And there are a
Yeah.
few pieces of news this week like going, oh, it's done, it's been cancelled. But apparently now there's an update. It hasn't been cancelled, but they're taking it in a different direction. It's being retooled behind the scenes. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, I don't know exactly what that means. How would you how would you feel about a Friday the 13th TV show? What would you like to see?
Oh, I reckon that'd be pretty good. I liked the Friday the 13th film from when was that? When did that come out? 20.
The remake?
Yeah, the remake. That was
I
pretty good.
reckon
Had
20 it's got to be like 2008, 2009, right?
yeah, my wife and I
As a guess.
we often chuck that one on. She loves it. That was good.
I think as a
That
oh 2009. 2009.
yeah, 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 yeah. But no, if, a TV show. Wow, a lot of backstory. It's yeah. How many episodes is it going to be? If it's anything like the Supernatural seasons, and it's like 20 plus 25 episodes, it's probably not going to
Yeah,
work.
that'd be
But
unreal. I
probably a
reckon.
short run of episodes.
Mm. And I think we've had enough backstory for Jason, haven't we? We know what's
We
going
sort of
down.
have, yeah.
We sort of
Though I
do.
liked Scream. You know the Scream TV show? I didn't
Oh
mind that.
yeah. See, I never
I
saw
didn't
that,
mind
but
that.
I know people who have and said it's good.
It got a bit
Um,
silly, but first season was pretty good.
mm. If it's A24 though, maybe they're going to go a little
Yeah,
bit
oh,
more.
yeah.
This
Nah,
is
that
this is what this is what I was thinking of. So the other piece of news I had was that there's a new trailer for that in a violent nature, but I'm going to combine that with this story of Friday the 13th TV series. So do you know much about In a Violent Nature?
no,
It's a
no.
slasher movie from the perspective of the slasher. Apparently, when we get this feedback from initial screenings where people were throwing up in the aisles, people were losing their minds, people came out and they were
Yeah,
tearing their own faces off, all of that
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah.
That's the kind of feedback we've got so far. And apparently it is super, super gruesome. But I feel like it's not an A24 movie, but this feels like one of those sort of like angles that you would take with a slasher movie.
Yeah.
From the point of view of the slasher, it's kind of just the camera's kind of like lingering behind him. Not the
Mm.
whole time, I'm sure, but this is the kind of film we've got. And it really does look great. An original character as well. But it did make me think, oh, that'd be great as a Friday the 13th. Like, if you're just kind of, the camera was just kind of behind Jason the whole time. Um, but yeah,
It's
that
like the
trait, it
game.
is like the game.
Remember
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Just
yeah,
run around murdering people.
which is fun.
That was good fun.
Great fun. So In a Violent Nature is released on the 31st of May, um, in theaters, but I don't know so it is a Shudder film as well, so I guess it will be on there eventually. Maybe they'll do something like Late Night with the Devil, where it was released in cinemas and then maybe like a month or
Mm.
two later it was on Shudder. Um, but yeah, I mean, it looks great. I think it's one of those trailers where I don't think it shows too much, so definitely go and see it. But going back to the Friday the 13th TV series, that's annoying because when that first came out, I was kind of thinking, oh, something from the perspective of the killer could be interesting. Um, I think maybe me and Andy discussed that. And now this trailer's come out, so I guess they can't do that. I'm thinking like a 6 episode mini series in real
Miniseries would
time,
be the way to go.
in real time, 24
Ah,
style.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I don't what I don't want to see is like I know we've seen Jason in Manhattan, of course, but we want to keep it quite small scale, nothing like backstories or involving too many characters or trying to give him a human side because of course Jason's got a human side. It's a tragic story, we all know that. But
Mm.
I don't want to see his life and times, even though when he was a kid. Let's just see him as a kid, him in hockey mask mode is probably what everyone wants to see. Um,
Yeah.
so let's just do that from scratch. But yeah, we'll obviously update everybody when we get more news on that as time goes on. I'm glad it hasn't been cancelled because I think that would have kind of That would have kind of sucked. But in terms of the links to Scream, Kevin Williamson, obviously who wrote the original Scream, is on board to write one episode, apparently. But it's
24
been
being
just,
involved is pretty interesting.
yeah, yeah, definitely, most definitely. And I don't think
Mm.
they've done all that much in terms of TV shows,
No,
A24.
I
No.
don't think so. I think it's more films, isn't it?
Hmm. I mean, the description here does say an expanded prequel to the original Friday the 13th franchise. So maybe Pamela Voorhees is alive and well in this.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what we get. Okay, and the only other piece of news I've got for this week is a new game has been released called Crow Country. And I have managed to play probably about an hour or so already of the game. So it is a PS1 era looking survival horror game with all the sort of retro graphics. It's got like a sort of isometric view. Um, but yeah, it's kind of obviously very inspired by Resident Evil and Silent Hill, and it takes place in an abandoned theme park called Crow Crow Country. Very atmospheric so far. Very creepy. Yeah, you play a character called Mara Forrest who goes into this abandoned theme park looking for clues about the mysterious disappearance of the owner. It's very puzzle based so far. I find even though I'm at an hour into it, there are puzzles aplenty. But yeah, very creepy. Lots of monstrosities lurking around every corner. Um, so yeah, I feel like if you're a fan of anything like that, any games along those lines, the classics from the PS1 era, pick it up. It's on console and Steam, I think, currently. And it's not too expensive either. I paid like 15 quid for it, so check it out. Are
Mm.
you much of a horror gamer at all, Jimmy?
Uh, no, not really. Just with work and audio, it sort of keeps me busy. I sort of jump on. What have I been playing lately that I never got around to back in the day was it Dead Space?
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah, like I'd never played it before, and my mate's like, "Oh, they've remade it, or they've
Yeah.
redone it. You've got to get onto it." And he's like, turned all the lights off and put it on the headphones, and man, it was freaking me out. It was good. I
Oh
loved it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Terrifying game. And definitely one where they've like captured it's basically like it feels the same as the original. When you go back to the original, you are like, I don't remember it looking like this. I thought it looked way better. But yeah, the remake's great for like a just complete like it's exactly the same gameplay, sound
Mm,
design, and obviously yeah, the necromorphs are horrific. Uh
definitely.
cool. So I guess we move on now to what we've been watching. Anything from the last 7 days or maybe longer that you've seen, horror or horror adjacent. Um Anything you'd recommend at all for our listeners, Jimmy?
The last thing that I watched that I finally got around to watching was Last Voyage of the Demeter. I
Oh
finally
yeah, of
watched it.
course.
Yeah, because I meant to go in the cinemas to see it because it would have been such a better experience. But I really enjoyed it. But yeah, some of the CGI was left a bit to be
Yeah.
desired.
Yeah,
What did
I
you
mean
think?
it got a lot of bad reviews, didn't it? And I didn't think it
Yeah,
was as bad perhaps as the review suggested. I
no.
think it's a great story to tell. I think it is. And sure, some of the see there are some times when Dracula, I think they should have kept him at certain levels of transition rather
Mm,
than made him go the whole way. I don't know. But I remember thinking it was better than I imagined. Um I think I read recently as well, Abigail, the zombie, not zombie, vampire ballerina movie, has already made more money than the last couple of like horror vampire releases, including Last Voyage of the Demeter and
mm.
something else. And I was quite surprised by the fact that had happened. Um, in terms
Yeah,
of
that looks good.
Renfield as well, so it's made more money than Last Voyage of the Demeter and Renfield, which is
I
surprising.
watched that a
I think.
couple of weeks ago, Renfield.
Oh,
That
you
was
watched that
that
as
was
well?
hilarious. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
hilarious.
I mean,
Good fun.
Nick Cage as Dracula.
Oh,
I don't
amazing.
feel like you just can't go wrong, can you? Um,
No, from the photos before the movie came out, you're like, oh, I don't know how
yeah,
this is gonna go.
it
It's good.
was. It
This could
was
be really bad.
Nick Cage in his Halloween outfit, wouldn't it? That's what it looked like.
Yeah, yeah, it really did. But no, look, that actually turned out all right. So yeah, that was another one I watched.
Mm.
Another really sort of B grade one I've watched is The Elevator Game on Shudder, and
Oh, okay.
that
Don't
was
think
not
I've
very
seen
good.
that. Not very good. Oh dear.
No, that wasn't very good, so I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay. What is the premise of that? Is it
Yeah, so just a group of uh they've got their own podcast. They're sort of a bit full of themselves, and they're trying to find their next big, uh, thing that'll make them go viral. And they find this elevator, this cursed elevator in this building, and they go and they play the elevator game. So you go to certain levels,
okay.
and yeah, it opens up another dimension and stuff like that.
Okay.
I
The
actually did
poster
an episode that someone wrote called The Elevator Game, and that was actually quite good. I did an
Oh
episode
wow.
on the Night's End in season 3, I think it was, or season 2, and that was really good. But yeah, and I'm like, oh, I'll watch this movie. This should be
Yeah.
good. No, it wasn't good.
Oh no. Check out a podcast instead, the podcast episode.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
How often do you write or are involved with podcast episodes and then like a year later or something, a film comes out and you're like, this is very similar to
Yeah.
there are a lot of similar elements going on here. And
No, that's
obviously
right.
it's weird, isn't it? It's strange. The elevator game poster looks a little bit reminiscent of is it House with the sort of severed hand pressing
Mm.
the doorbell. Okay, maybe yeah, maybe if I'm at a loose end, I'll check it out. Who knows? Um, anything else at all?
Oh, that's pretty much, yeah, all I've really watched lately. Yeah.
Yeah, I've not really watched all that much horror adjacent because I've been prepping for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, so I rewatched
Ah, yeah.
Rise, Dawn, and War,
Mm.
um, which got me thinking. I I can imagine like a horror focused Planet of the Apes. Or I was even thinking like
Mm.
an open world game, like similar to like The Last of Us, but where we've got some and of course the apes aren't really the villains in that trilogy. It's the
No,
humans. So but at the same
100%.
time, imagine like a scary apes world. Something like Congo, I guess, where the apes are trying to bash your head in. It did kind of get me thinking of that, and we have got an interesting relationship on this podcast with monkey horror. We've covered a lot of monkey horror movies, and I think we're long overdue a monkey horror movie. Um, I think we've covered things like uh Shakma, Monkey Shines. I think Link. These are all great monkey horror movies. We need to find a new one to watch. It got me thinking. I guess because my head is usually in the zone of like horror movies that no matter what I watch, I'm almost thinking I'd like to see some sort of horror take on this. Um so yeah, that's all I've not really seen much horror this. It's been one of those weeks. Oh, I did watch Street Fighter from 1994, which some would consider a
Oh,
horror
wow.
movie.
Yes,
Some would consider a horror movie.
for
Um,
sure.
I watched a documentary called "Here Comes a New Challenger," directed by Oliver Harper. It is on um Amazon now. It's on Amazon Prime, so it's kind of all about Street Fighter 2 and the cultural significance of that game and everyone talking about their love of it. And there's a whole section talking about the Street Fighter movie, and I was like,
Mm.
I've not seen the Street Fighter movie for a long time. So I went back and watched it. Do you know what? I don't hate it. I
Ah,
think
okay.
it's
From a
perfectly
nostalgic point of view, or
yeah, kind of. But I feel like if
yeah.
you watch it, I think if you watch it through a lens of this is kind of a bit silly, maybe
Mm.
even kind of a bit of a comedy. If you watch it through
Yeah.
that lens, because like so it's Raul Julia, his like final role before he passed away, and him as M Bison, like some of his lines are absolutely unreal. And I think if you watch it from a sense of like he's a serious villain, it is silly.
Mm.
But when you watch it
Yeah,
from a
yeah.
point of view of like he's hamming it up, it's fantastic. And then obviously the Blanca being like a soldier being turned into this green skinned orange hair like super soldier is so stupid. um and sure, some of the takes on characters are ridiculous, or like I can imagine why you'd just be like angry as a
Mm.
Street Fighter fan as a kid. But I think a good 30 years later, you can look back at it and be like, of all, because there are a lot of video game movies around this time, obviously Mortal Kombat,
Yeah.
Mario Brothers, for example.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, and I'm sure Andy, if he was here, he'd have my head. I kind of out of those three films, Mortal Kombat, Mario Brothers, Street Fighter, I feel like I like Street Fighter the most.
What?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I've gone
Oh
there.
no. Jeez.
So
No,
not
I
only
think
is that
Mario Brothers was the best
Well,
for
is that
sure.
because of John? What look, ruined his name.
John
Leguaz
Leguizamo. Oh no,
Leguizamo.
I just have fond memories of watching that when I was a kid.
Whereas I
Yeah.
think, hello, I'm just defending myself now. That's all I'm doing. I think as a kid, so I didn't get into Mortal Kombat for a few years. It took
Yeah.
me a while to get into Mortal Kombat. Mario Brothers the movie, I haven't really got fond memories of it. But I feel like when Street Fighter came out, I was in the zone of
Yeah,
being a
right.
Street Fighter player. So when the film came out, I was just absolutely amazed that this could
Mm.
exist. I couldn't believe that this could exist. So I think going back to it all these years later has made me kind of appreciate it a bit more. But there we go. We'll see what Andy's got to say to that. Maybe
Yeah.
I've only got the balls to say it when he's not on the episode because he'd be like, I think his reaction would be more extreme than yours.
There's a it's like a TV show or something they released for Street Fighter a few years
Yeah.
back, sort of
Wait,
an
is it?
independent. What was that
Yes,
called?
I know what you mean. It's like a web. It was like a web series, wasn't it? Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And my friend chucked it on while I was over at his
Yeah, it's
place
pretty good.
once, and I'm like, it's actually really good.
It's called Assassin's Fist. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Obviously, they've made the characters look exactly like they should look.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, it is good. And then obviously the
Acting's
was it
on
the
point in it,
what is
unlike
there
the
was another.
aforementioned movie.
Oh yeah, the acting is. They never ever mention for a second. Hang on a minute. Why is Jean-Claude Van Damme, all American hero, not got an American accent? Don't ask, don't
Don't worry
tell.
about it.
Why is Chun-Li like a sort of reporter slash? Don't ask, don't tell. What E Honda's like a Hawaiian guy. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and there was another film, wasn't there? Street Fighter, Legend of Chun-Li, I think it's called, 2009. And I had that Kristen Kreuk, who's in like I want to say Smallville or something like that. I can't remember. I've but she was yeah, she's in Smallville. She was kind of Chun-Li, which was again that film I remember being a bit naff.
Mm.
Just some really weird casting choices in that. Um do you remember the film? Do you remember City Hunter, Jackie Chan, and the bit where he like dresses up as all the Street Fighter characters? Do you remember that?
No.
Oh man, it is utterly outstanding. You need to. It's just a scene. It's just a scene where he's fighting people, and then for some reason he starts turning into all of the Street Fighter characters, um, including Chun-Li, which is
Oh,
lovely.
right.
Which is lovely. I urge everybody to dig that out because that at the time I think was considered this is all we need as a Street Fighter movie. Jackie Chan playing every role. Let's do it. Um, so yeah, that has been my week of what I've been watching, except for the film of the week, which we've obviously already mentioned,
Mm.
but let's talk about it, which is, and I've got the DVD right here. Oh, oh, there we go. Land of the Dead, which is a 2005 post-apocalyptic horror film written and directed by George A. Romero. It's the fourth of Romero's six Living Dead movies. It has got a 6.2 on IMDb. Rotten Tomatoes score, 74% audience score. That's quite high. And
Mm.
52% critic score. On Letterboxd, it's got 2.9 out of 5, and I've got some choice reviews here. Dawson Joyce says it's not quite as strong as George A. Romero's first three Living Dead films, but Land of the Dead makes for a more than welcome return to this universe. 4 stars. Um, Joseph says smart zombies, hell yeah! Romero did it again in this post-apocalyptic horror fest. But then he's only rated it 2.5 stars. I feel like
Oh, right.
What are you playing at? Leighton Trent says, as good as I hoped it would be, uh, as good as I hoped it would be, it just turned out to be okay. Barely par by Romero standards. But then he's given it 3 stars. I feel like those last two people have mixed up their star ratings. Um, and then finally, No Personality says, the first Romero dead film to treat the audience like they're zombies. One and a
Oh,
one and
jeez.
a half 1.5 stars. So, a interesting cross section of reviews there. Um, I remember when I got it on DVD. So, as I said to you before, I feel like I've only seen it once before I watched it again this time around. Which is a weird one because in terms of my memory of it, I always thought it was real good. I remember thinking, yeah, that's
Mm.
great, that film. Yeah, that's great. I like that one. It's Diary of the Dead and Survival of the Dead afterwards, which I feel like I didn't enjoy so much. You said you've not seen those, right? Not seen.
I think I might have seen the diary one, but
I
just wasn't
think
memorable to me.
Yeah, I think Diary's okay because it's kind of like at least, do you know what I mean? The found footage thing as a zombie film. Are there
Mm.
many found footage zombie films, really? Now I'm thinking about it. I don't think, I think it's one of those things that doesn't exist too much. So it's
Mm.
interesting if
Concept,
it,
yeah.
but if I remember, the characters are awful in that film, if I remember correctly. And but weirdly, Survival of the Dead, I don't really remember anything about, so it can't have been that
Mm.
good at all. Um, so Land of the Dead obviously feels like a bigger budget, bigger world in terms of the concept. The basic concept is that there's this area in Pittsburgh, is it in Pittsburgh? Um, where they've got like a
I think
huge,
so, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, what is it like a huge sort of like high-rise building where everybody's staying, kind of like you buy your way into there, which kind of doesn't make sense because obviously money has
Fiddler's
lost
Green or
its.
something like that. Yeah.
That's a weird
Where all the
name for it.
rich.
That's
Yeah,
a weird name
really.
for it.
Is it Fiddler's Green or am I just making that up?
It is Fiddler's Green. It is.
Oh, it is?
It's
Okay, okay.
yeah. Where do you live? I just live down
Ah,
Fiddler's Green, you know. Excuse me? You what?
Yeah.
And in terms of the cast, we've got Simon Baker as like the lead, who is how can you describe him as a lead? Cookie cutter, cookie cutter white guy protagonist.
Yeah.
Because no disrespect to you, Simon Baker, but I don't know how I feel about you. I'm a bit like you could just be anybody.
Yeah.
John Leguizamo as Cholo, so he's kind of like um he starts off as like Riley's mate, but he's clearly only out looking out for himself,
Mm.
which is all right, isn't it? Dennis Hopper
Mm.
is like the big bad, the guy who runs everything in Fiddler's Green. Asia Argento, her character's called Slack, but I don't even remember that at
Ah,
all.
I don't
Slack.
remember them. And I was having a look before and I'm like, what was that head the boss zombie? What was his name? And his
Yes.
name was Big Daddy.
Big Daddy Zombie.
And it's but it's never
Oh.
said in the film.
It's never said in the film, is it?
No. But
I feel like it feels like the zombie story and the human story is so separate
mm,
that I would have liked a little bit of crossover at some point. I don't know. I feel like Big Daddy Zombie always looked like he had like stubbed his toe.
yeah.
Bloody
Always
hell!
yelling. Yeah.
Oh! And he was what I did enjoy is that he's clearly fuming that all of the other
Yeah,
zombies are
he is.
so stupid compared to him.
Yeah,
Isn't he? He's just
yeah.
like, you idiots, what are you doing? Like, follow
He,
me, do what I'm doing.
he
Um,
looks like every manager.
yeah. Oh, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
I told you this five times. This is the process, and you've done it wrong again.
Yeah.
No way. Um, I I know we've spoken about like we've had. It's not the first time George A. Romero has done like sort of sentient kind of intelligent zombies, or not. I don't want to say intelligent. Kind of rediscovering their humanity. Obviously, in Dawn of the Dead, everyone flocks to them all. In Day of the
Mm,
Dead, we've got oh shit, I can't remember his name. The zombie. Listen to the music. Bub. That's right, isn't it? Bub.
mm,
Obviously, like rediscovering his humanity. The characters become a little bit connect. I'm sorry, the audience comes a bit connected to that character as well. So that's interesting. So he's done this before. I guess what he's doing now is going. These zombies are going to fight back. Um,
Mm.
They want to live in Fiddler's Green. Okay. They want a lovely restaurant. They want shopping complex. They've had enough.
It sort of reminded me of the whole how you're saying that the stories were so separate. It's like the whole White Walkers Game of Thrones thing. How it's like this
Mm,
storyline that was just always there in the background. It's like, well, how is this going to relate at some point?
yeah. And when those worlds do collide, I guess a little bit
Mm,
underwhelming in a way. I mean, I don't
mm,
know if you agree with the White Walkers stuff, but when those worlds do eventually collide, it's a
definitely.
bit like, oh, I kind of wanted more. And again, was it because I've been watching Planet of the Apes this week? But I definitely wanted the Big Daddy Zombie to at one point just say something. I wanted him to
Yeah,
go like,
yes.
"Fucking hell," or
Well, he
like,
pretty much did, didn't he? Every
yeah, yeah.
scene he was in.
That was pretty much what he
Uh,
used to, or at least like grab Dennis Hopper and just go like, "Yeah, bastard." Fucking hell."
yeah,
That scene, I know we'll get into it, but that scene where Dennis Hopper, when he walked off, I was like, "What is he even trying to do? I don't understand. What's he? What?" And then obviously, yeah, it did come together, but still. Um, Interesting. An interesting concept, I guess. A bit like the script is a bit iffy in places. Like
mm.
there's some one-liners and some. This is the thing. I think you struggle because you don't really know who to root for. Like the main guy and his
No,
crew, and then like Cholo when he like takes Dead Reckoning away, and then Riley's kind of working on behalf of um the villain essentially, isn't he? Like Paul Kaufman,
yeah,
he's
yep.
working on behalf. So I don't know whether it was George A. Romero trying to get us to like root for the zombies, and I guess
Yeah,
kind of
maybe
maybe.
because none of the characters, there just wasn't. Yeah, there was no investment in them. You didn't really want to follow them.
Yeah, no one was particularly. That Robert Joy as Charlie Hauk, I think the guy with the kind of like I guess burns on his face.
Ah, yeah, yeah,
Um, yeah, again
yeah. He was
like
enjoyable.
he was enjoyable, but again as we've mentioned, there was a lot of stupid like flexing between characters, just like
Yeah.
trying to get one up on
Shooting
each other.
beside their ear and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, that's a laugh, isn't it? That's a right laugh. I'm completely deaf now, like literally
Yeah, yeah.
forever. Ah, yeah, but I've
You
proved my
literally
point.
hit my ear, but
Yeah,
okay,
nah.
sure, sure. We're even.
Yeah. I like some of the stuff, like obviously in terms of a post-apocalyptic world, there's a little bit of humor involved with the way
Mm,
zombies are treated within Fiddler's Green. Like you can get your photos taken with
yeah,
zombies
yes.
on chains. Obviously there's like an underground sort of like fighting ring with people fighting zombies and stuff. Feels too risky, doesn't it, to have some zombies
Oh,
just
yeah,
knocking around in Fiddler's Green. Um,
definitely.
but then again, we do revert to the classic Romero shuffling zombie. It's not like any sprinting athlete zombies or anything like that. Uh, which is good because I feel like I'd be all right in a shuffling zombie world. It wouldn't be
Mm.
nice, it wouldn't be fun, but sprinting zombies, I think I just immediately throw myself off the nearest
Oh,
high
yeah,
high roof.
yeah. 28 days later, zombies. Nah, no, thank you.
Absolutely not. Okay, so in terms of the plot of this film, we kind of start off. So we get like the cold open, well, the opening, which like suggests that human civilization has fallen to the zombies. Is this canon to the other films? Do they still exist in this universe? Is that correct? That's usually what Romero does, isn't it?
Mm,
So it's like
think so.
the same zombie apocalypse, but elsewhere. Or obviously, this is a lot further into the future. Um, So, human civilization have reorganized enough to establish a chain of protected city states across America. Okay, so Fiddler's Green isn't the only one. I wasn't sure. Um, and one such sanctuary is in Pittsburgh, which has got like a government. There's like a militia, and obviously the higher citizens. I'm guessing like people of government or rich people, whatever, all live in essentially like a real world. Like the civilization is the same within this place. Like got restaurants,
Yeah.
shopping complexes, lovely stuff. I think there is a line at some point where someone
Y-
looks at the zombies going, "They're just trying to live. They're just trying to live like humans." And then someone says, "Well, it's a bit like us. We're just trying to still pretend we're humans." It's like one of those cutting lines where I'm like, "Oh yeah, they're right." That's what
Yeah.
that's what this film was all about all along. Um, and yeah, so I guess the story's told from two perspectives. One of the humans within there, but then we also see these zombies who are kind of like rising up against. Because really, when you watch it from the zombies' point of view, like it can be a bit like, oh, it is a bit mean. They are
Hmm.
just they are just running through and just like slicing heads off, and it's
Destroying
just
them.
look, have a look at these fireworks of Big Daddy Zombies. Like, stop it, you idiots!
Yeah.
What's wrong with you all? Covering their eyes.
Yeah.
So we got this is interesting though because Big Daddy Zombie, right? There's nothing to suggest why he would be. I was kind of hope there might be a suggestion to like why he would be. I
Different.
was going to say why he would be different, but then again, is it just because he's just like a normal guy, like he's just like a mechanic, right?
Yeah.
Is that also just as interesting? Because it's like it's not like some guy who some scientist, for example, who died
Ah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
he's kept his humanity a little bit. Like, oh, just a regular dude who's fighting back. Um, so yeah,
Is
obviously
it like supposed to be an evolution of zombies? Like they slowly start to get that because he teaches the others, I suppose. So I don't know.
yeah, I guess that's it. That's
And
yeah,
yeah,
that is kind
being
of
just in a like a Joe, pretty much just a Joe that
mm,
yeah, is no one. It would have been too on the nose if it was yeah, like a scientist or
or a
from the
politician
CDC or
or
something like
something.
that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. These are my credentials. Okay, I know I'm a
Yeah.
zombie. I know I'm a zombie, but at the same time, I earn these credentials. You should all listen to me. Um, cheerleader zombie, come over here. It's just thought
Yeah.
there are a lot of like zombies where you're like, okay, they died and the
Yeah.
cheerleaders held on to her pom pom. It's
Hey,
very silly.
you butcher, come over here with your cleaver.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Chop
Oh,
chop down this door.
it is pretty good when they all get weapons though. I do quite like that.
Mm,
So yeah, essentially, outside the city's barriers is like the no man's land where all these zombies exist. Um, but they're not like really attacking the city. I think occasionally someone goes to like the electric fence outside the city and gets fried. But apart from
mm,
that, the zombies are kind of keeping themselves to themselves in their area. But obviously, the humans have to go into these areas to find supplies and various other things. Um, and when they do that, they go out at night and they send fireworks up into the sky, which distracts
mhm.
the zombies. Again, which you feel like would be fair enough, but the thing that humans are doing wrong is they're just like rolling through and just smashing zombies' heads off left, right, and center,
Slaughtering them.
which is what Big Daddy has had enough. I like how Big Daddy comes out of his comes out of his garage though. I imagine, I want to know what he's
Yeah,
doing. What's he doing in there?
exactly. What is he doing?
He's been tinkering away with the same car like for years. He's like, I'll get there eventually. This
He's
oil leak
rounded
is
all the bolts.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. He's maybe that's it. Obviously, a part of him is still continuing to be human. Maybe he's just going about a day job.
Well, I suppose in Dawn of the Dead they sort of say, they're just drawn to what they did in life, right? So he would just hang around that shop.
Yeah. Let's go to the mall. Oh God, can't think of
Yeah, I
anything
know.
worse.
Just
Uh,
picture the cheerleader out on the footy oval, just
yeah, yeah. I can't think of it. I feel like when I go to the mall, it's like being surrounded by zombies anyway. You see
yeah,
Oh yeah, I see what you're doing there, George. The thing is,
yeah,
like, I like George's social commentary. It is,
mm,
it can be on the nose, but I still
yeah,
like it. It doesn't feel pedantic or like, still feels like genuine. It doesn't make me feel like, oh, all right, George, I get it.
yeah, yeah.
I still enjoy it for what it is because I go, yeah.
Mm,
I know it's a commentary on society. Like all these different films have a different take on it and like the different breakdowns in society. And obviously, I guess this one's about class and government and
mm,
how you can imagine like sections of humanity still clinging on to the things that don't mean anything anymore. Yeah, like class and power and stuff like that. In Fiddler's Green. Can we rename this
in
place? Is there
Fiddler's Green.
can we rename this place? I want to call it something else. Are you the fiddler? Is it you own this place? No, 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 it's just a name. Um, so yeah, we've got this armored personnel vehicle called Dead Reckoning, which is almost like a character in itself. Um,
Yeah, oh, yeah,
which
definitely.
which Dennis Hopper has like it calls him a ruthless plutocratic ruler. But this is the thing, I don't think we get all that many examples of
No,
this, do we?
no, we don't.
It's
Yeah,
in
he's
terms of him as a character, he's not incredibly fleshed out. We just see like obviously like yeah, he's shouting the orders and stuff, but
and
apart
he's
from
always just
that,
hanging out by himself in the film. Like you don't, oh, I suppose you see him interact with his board a little bit,
mm.
but that's pretty much it. You don't see him interacting with anyone else
And
that I remember.
he's got like an assistant dude
Yeah,
who's
yeah,
always like I'm like, is he in this zombie apocalypse? So I feel like he hasn't got a clue what's going on. And I guess that's the point, like that he's been sheltered by Fiddler's Green for so long that
yeah.
because the first chance of as well, I know we're jumping to the end, but the first sign of trouble, he's like, see you later, running off.
Yeah, see you later.
All
Runs
right,
runs out the car
get back
park.
here. You got the fucking keys. I did enjoy that. Um,
Uh,
so essentially, yeah, this Dead Reckoning is this big vehicle, which is similar to the vehicle at the end of Snyder's Dawn of the Dead. This big armored vehicle with like little gaps in it, so you can shoot and jab. And he says something
mm.
about is there like nails on the outside of the thing as well, like loads of nails that like rip people apart as it drives past.
uh,
I'm not sure. You mentioned that, but
oh,
maybe.
yeah.
Yeah, but there's lots of little extra features, I guess you could say, that this vehicle's got that make it pretty
Yeah,
terrifying.
missile launches.
Yeah. So Riley, Simon Baker, I'll keep saying that because I'll forget who that is in terms, but he is like the designer and commander
Mm,
of it. And I think like he's got a better relationship with the citizens because there's this kind of like group of citizens as well, aren't they, who like also want to uprise against
mm,
um where like obviously because they're still living within the walls, but they're living not in the big high-rise building
mm,
in
yeah,
they're
in
kind
the
of living
slums.
in the slums. That's right, yeah. And they kind of want to rise up. Um, is the leader
On his
Irish?
soapbox. Yeah, he's
Have I
Irish. I think he was Irish, and he's on
He's
his
gone
soapbox, and we've got to get them. You know.
right, right. We need a lead. We need a leader of these rebels. What should we do? Or I could get an Irish fella in there. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
He, he'd love to live in Fiddler's Green. He'd love it. That sounds
yeah,
perfect.
that's right.
So yeah, they have got like a half decent relationship with Riley, where they're like, "You need to help us do this or something." And he's respected, I guess, among those citizens because he's still like providing them with food and like medical supplies,
Mm.
but he's still working. He's still on the payroll of Dennis Hopper. Um, so there are so many moments in this film as well, right? And I know it's a zombie film, and people are going to get bitten. I know that, but people getting snuck up on by zombies.
I know.
How many occurrences? I think this film must have the most amounts of snuck up on by a zombie occurrences. I'm talking at least 12 to 15. Like just someone stood there and then suddenly, oh fuck. It's just like no one, and again, maybe we're supposed to believe that no one's learned because they're within the walls of Fiddler's Green, but my God, keep your back to a wall, right? That's what this.
Yeah,
But back to a wall. You want to? I don't know. Something's got to be
like that
done
guy
because
on the skateboard. That guy on the skateboard, and they're like, "Hey, you just, go out into the darkness," and
yeah.
and he just skates on along, and he's going into this dark shed. It's like, what are you doing? Like,
Oh man, I
and yeah,
I. I'm maybe it shows something about me in terms of how much of a coward I am, but I'm just like I ain't putting myself in any of those situations. If there's a
no,
situation where I'm like this, oh, bit dodgy that situation. No, I'm sorry, it's not worth the risk. One bite and you're dead. Uh,
yeah,
there was like yeah, because the guy on the skateboard is he? It was his death was strange. Was that where like he kind of got bit? in the front, and then someone was behind him. That was the
Yeah,
guy was
yeah.
getting.
All of a sudden, there was 1,000 zombies around him.
Yeah, and
It's like there was one. Yeah.
I know that the shuffling zombies are that's one of their superpowers, which is silent movement. And I
Mm.
understand that, but I just feel like if you're in this environment, there's no way I'm skateboarding around. Have I imagined this? Did he have music on as well? Did I
He
imagine this?
did.
He did.
Yes, he had his headphones on. It's like, dude, what are you doing? You're like,
There is no
you're the
way.
person running up the stairs right now, and you know.
There is no way. I'd just be
And then
like, no. It's very silly, and lots of people are just getting bitten, and
oh,
uh,
and the other thing is like people just had no respect for noise as well. So,
yeah.
oh, there's a zombie that's a few feet away. I could probably dispatch it some other way. No, I'm just going to use a machine gun and shoot its head off. Yeah,
Oh no, the other
there'll be
zombies are
no
all.
consequences from this.
Yeah, it is. It feels like, and again, maybe this is intention, but again, it feels like I think that is one of the most frustrating things about zombie movies, isn't it? Because you're like, people never behave in a way that like you would expect them to, which is
Mm.
like learning learning the behaviors of these zombies and just avoiding all triggers for like what would eventually get you killed. And it is frustrating. And maybe it's because we've consumed so much zombie media that we're sat there going,
That's true.
come on now. But at least the word zombie exists in this film, right?
That's right. Yes, it does. Yeah,
So obviously
yeah,
at one point Dennis Hopper's character says, I hate zombies. Oh,
yeah,
and I like that. I like that. That's good.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
obviously most zombie media comes from the point of view that zombies are a brand new thing, they don't exist, and that's why so many people
I've never
die.
gotten that. I've never understood that.
Strange, isn't it? Yeah, it
Yeah.
is strange. There probably are a handful of films that kind of do sort of do that, but this one not so much. Um, Yeah, so I think on this first trip is kind of like to establish the rules of like I guess like the fireworks and how the humans'
Mm.
missions into the wasteland works, and obviously we get a reaction from the zombies, including Big Daddy. It says he's formerly a gas station attendant. I don't know. I thought he was decked out like a mechanic.
Like a
Maybe not.
mechanic, yeah.
Yeah. Um. Also, in this there's a lot of disparity between when someone's been bitten and someone's like kill him straight away, and someone go no, it'll be all right. There's so much of that, and again, this is another trope that we get in zombie films.
Yeah.
But yeah, one guy gets bitten and he kills himself, doesn't he? Like I think he's ready to turn, and then he kills
The
himself.
young the young guy at the start.
That's right, the young guy, yeah. We
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
really get much of an idea of like how quickly zombies turn. What are your thoughts on that as a rule, and what would you say you prefer in terms of that? Because obviously in things like 28 days later, not necessarily zombies, I know it's a virus, but like as soon as you get that blood in your face or in your eyes or in your mouth, you're done for, you're dead. You're
Mm.
immediately turned. I think in Snyder's Dawn of the Dead is quite a quick turn as well. Do you
Mm.
think it should be, however bad the injury is, would be? Are you a believer in it's the injury that kills you, no matter how bad it is? So if you get a tiny little nibble, maybe it's going to
Mm.
take a couple of days to kill you. But if you get like a big old chunk ripped out of you, it takes like, I don't know, 30 minutes. That wound kills you, and then you come back.
Uh, I think like it's a bloodstream thing for me.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
whether it's a bite or whether it's a ripping your arm off or something, I feel like it would be a similar amount of time to turn. Well, that's what I think.
Yeah.
What about
Yeah.
you?
Well, I was thinking the thing that I said, where I kind of thought it was the wound that kind of changed it, but I
The
think yeah,
wound?
that can make sense as well. What about zombie media, where like that you get bitten and it's not a death sentence? I kind of like that as well.
Yeah, well, I always expect them, like John Leguizamo later on. It's like, man, chop your arm off, chop your straight away. Like you're always chop your limb off, chop your limb. I'm
I have to.
always
Do you ever
gunning for them to do that. At least try it.
put yourself in that frame of mind though? Like, oh my
Oh
God.
yeah, be
Like
so difficult.
sometimes I don't know, like I get a little hangnail and I'm pulling a bit of skin off. I'm like, ow, fuck.
I know.
There's no way.
Just
Because you got to go through bone. It's the bone as well. The bone,
yeah,
the nerves, like all that. Oh, Jesus. And I know I just do it terribly where I just, there's no going back. I'm done
yeah.
for. Um, yeah, I kind of like, also, it seems like this film establishes the fact that if you die naturally, you come back as a zombie, right? Because someone hangs
Hmm.
themselves.
Yeah, that's right. And he
Has
came back,
has George Romero done
which
that before? See, I'm
don't
not sure. I'm
no,
not sure if he has.
don't think so. But like
And
that would imply what though? Like airborne, that it's
Airborne, because
always in
obviously,
us.
have we? I think the only other zombie media really that focus on that is The Walking Dead, right? And that is it's a great reveal when that happens when we first find
Mm,
out. I mean, I'm mainly talking about the comic. I'm not sure how they do it in the TV show. Um, but it's a great reveal when that happens because that is like holy shit, like this is beyond the realms of what we thought it was. So it's like Airborne,
mm.
and then yeah, that is horrific because you're like whoever dies, whoever dies, they're gonna need a bullet in the head
They're gonna
immediately.
yes.
Oh
Yeah.
wait, I think I was about to say I think maybe the Snyder Dawn of the Dead did that. I remember someone, but I think that is a bite now I think of it. Or I'm thinking of the baby as well, but I guess that is just because the mum's infected, isn't it?
Yeah.
When that happens. Interesting. I don't hate it as a but I feel like in this film it kind of establishes it with this scene,
Mm.
but doesn't really address it again, you know? It's nobody
Yeah,
really does.
there's a few instances of that happening in this film where, yeah,
Mm,
that there is a little nugget and they just let it go. They don't really
mm.
expand.
One of the things that Cholo is doing as well is he's like getting luxury designer clothing and like liquor and
Yep.
selling it on
Cigars.
essentially. Yeah, cigars, yeah, that's right. Um and he kind of wants I think he wants to like impress Dennis Hopper's character enough to be able to get in to Fiddler's Green, get his own apartment, I guess, and be able to like live there and live the high life. Um and yeah, obviously Dennis Hopper says like, oh, there's a big old waiting list, unfortunately. Yeah, but I'm I'm assuming that you've only got a certain amount of apartments. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right.
What one's just opened up across the hall from you.
Yeah, I just took care of it for you.
I just took care of it for you. Um,
Yeah, and that's the way when we're talking about Dennis Hopper's character, there's just not enough depth. He doesn't even try to hide his disdain to a degree to sort of string him along at all.
yeah,
You know, he's just like, oh yeah, no, you're not meant for this area, and then pretty much
yeah,
says
that's
to the
pretty
guy,
much
oh,
it,
I
isn't
won't
it?
be needing this man anymore. It's like, well,
Yeah,
that was a bit, yeah.
I won't be needing this man anymore. So if you really obvious security guard can walk up behind him and put a bullet in the back of his head, oh, just big shuffling stupid security guard. So yeah, Cholo manages to like avoid. What does he do? Just like does he kill him? I'm not sure if he just beats him
So
up.
he,
Um,
he knocks his gun out and knocks him out, I
mm.
think.
But the scene we mentioned just now, obviously, is where there's a little bit of a kerfuffle, I guess, in the apartment opposite Dennis
Mm,
Hoffman. Dennis Hopper. Dennis
Hopper.
Hoffman. Gee, I've got Hopper and Kaufman
Yeah.
mixed up there. That's what I do. So yeah, like there's an older man who's like hung himself, and then um his son comes in like to cut him down, but
Yeah.
he wakes up at the exact moment and then like falls on him. I mean, it's an
Yeah.
absolute disaster. It's an
It
absolute.
is.
I'm just like, oh my God, for God's sake, idiots. And the wife is just what was she doing? She comes out like getting dressed as if she's just
Yeah.
what's going on in here? Oh no, my husband and son are both dead. Obviously Cholo deals with it. But again, he's trying to use it as a I can be of use if you want me to be involved. But as
How
soon
is that
as
ornament though? That ornament that he uses. So he uses the blunt side of it, but it's a
oh
thing
yeah,
that stands up and it's just this point. It's like who keeps that in an apartment? That is a dangerous thing to keep in your apartment.
he's like, right, I got this big. I'll just use the blunt side. Why not? Much
Yeah.
easier. Incredibly dangerous. So yeah, basically Cholo, after he realizes he's not gonna be um allowed into Fiddler's Green, he's like, right, that's it. That dead reckoning, massive, scary armored vehicle, it's mine now. I'm taking it, and I'm gonna destroy Fiddler's Green with it if Kaufman doesn't give me $5 million. Oh yeah.
Hmm.
What are you gonna use that $5 million for,
Yeah,
Cholo?
that's what I thought. It's like,
Offshore
man.
offshore account and watch the interest roll in. There are no banks anywhere.
Oh, well, they keep talking about north, so maybe they can use it up north.
Yeah, this is another thing, isn't it? This is another zombie trope, is there's always somewhere else. There's
Yeah.
always up north, there's always
Hmm.
the coast. We get as close
Yeah.
to the coast. Or there's always like a rumor that I've heard that this city is in a it didn't actually get touched by the zombie apocalypse. Let's go there. And I'm like, has it ever worked out positively? It
Don't think
never
so.
has. They if you get there, it's either worse than it was where they were originally, or just yeah, nowhere near. Is oh, I think my brother's gone to this army base up there. Yeah,
Mm.
apparently they're in good nick. And they get there and it's just overrun. It's just absolutely mad. Yeah, so I never believe that. I'm always like, oh yeah, all right. Although I do like Dawn of the Dead remake when they get to the island and,
Yes.
and it's kind of like in the credits, isn't it, that we see
Yeah,
them on the boat and getting to the island, and it's I think that's a great ending
that is a good ending.
because going to an island sounds like the best possible sort of idea, but
It's a
no,
good, yeah.
it
You'd
made
fast run
me
out of
kind of
food, right?
yeah, exactly. There we go. Um, so yeah, he basically takes Dead Reckoning, and this is when Kaufman approaches Riley and says, you, Charlie, who is the guy who's like Riley's like right hand man, and then
Sidekick, yep.
sidekick, and then Slack, who is Asia Argento, who they sort of like save from this scene. I don't know what happened in this scene, right? I was a bit. This was the one scene where I was a bit like not quite paying attention. There was like so Slack, I guess, was being paid to be involved in these fights, and they wanted to get her out, and there was like a little
I don't even
dude.
know if she was paid to be involved. I think they were just like, here you go, get in
Get
there.
in. There was like a little guy in a purple suit.
Yes, in a pimp suit.
And it was 100% a pimp suit.
It
Um,
was.
he was like, yeah, and they kill him and sort of get Slack out of there. And they get sort of there's a few other characters. Now their names are apparently Manolete, Motown, and Pillsbury.
Motown.
They've all
Yes,
got a
Motown
lovely nickname.
Pillsbury.
Do you have to have a nickname in this universe?
I know. Well, they're the quintessential soldier. So yeah, they're always given a nickname.
Yeah. Um.
Pillsbury.
So the Pillsbury dough, but who's Pillsbury? There's like a big guy in there, like
Yeah,
who's
yeah, that
just
was Pillsbury. That was
is that
Pillsbury.
Pillsbury? There's that
Yeah,
big
yeah.
guy who's kind of
That
like
that big
yeah,
Samoan guy. Hmm.
that's right, yeah. And he's like throwing people, slinging people out, and just
Let,
yeah, he's
let's
he's,
do
he's the
something.
muscle.
What are we doing? Let's do something.
Yeah, he does say that, doesn't he? I'm here to do something.
uh,
What is do something? Um,
what are you standing around for?
yeah. What a ragtag group of guys going after Chola. It says here Manolet is bitten and then killed by Slack. I mean, I can't even remember exactly what happens there.
That
They
was
kind of
yeah. It's weird because like you got Simon Baker's character. He never wants to kill the person that's been bitten for some reason. He's like, no, no, no. Like, what are you gonna
yeah.
do, man? But anyway, this guy gets bitten. They all get back in the car, and they
Oh
sort
yeah,
of
that's
just
right.
yeah. And then
Just
she
shoots
just
him in the
turns
head.
around and shoots him. Yeah, yeah.
There's a lot of firing. I'd be like, why are you firing this gun in such a small environment? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
Like,
like, what about the seats, man? Watch the
watch
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 the
the le
seats.
watch the lever. I'm deaf. Watch the lever. Like
Yes.
it could be like some sort of rebound of the bullet. That's the wrong word, but you know what I mean. Like
It was a Jeep. It was a Jeep at least, and it was open air. So,
okay. Oh yeah, it
yeah,
was.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
right.
yeah,
You're right.
yeah,
You're right.
yeah.
There's me thinking they're in Dead Reckoning, but they're not there yet because they're chasing after it.
Hmm.
They've got like a tracker on it or something. Riley's got like a thing
Yeah.
he knows where it is. He's like, I'm the
Calls it a
designer.
homing beacon.
That's right. He's like, I've designed this, and I knew that maybe one day someone would nick it, so I need to get home and beacon on it. I think when they catch up, I mean, to be fair, this Wikipedia synopsis is kind of like jumped ahead to when they catch up with Dead Reckoning, so I'm assuming not much happens between now and then. Um, they catch up with Dead Reckoning. Riley approaches the vehicle,
Mm.
um, trying to sort of get to Cholo, I guess, to sort of say, it's not worth it. Come on. And I
Well, yeah,
think,
sort of saying that you're going to hit our friends as well, and
yeah, yeah, of course.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because but then again, I always thought like, is Cholo actually going to go through with it, or is he
Mm.
just wants the money essentially? But I guess it's not clear. Um, Cholo, like, oh no, he does because he's preparing to fire those missiles, isn't he? From the
Yep.
I don't know what that is. Sorry, he said fire the missiles. Um, and yeah, it gets a little bit. There's a little bit of carnage here. Maybe you just, I don't know if I'm lost, but I think there's a bit of like a fight going on. When does Cholo get bitten? It's not just yet, is it?
No, 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 no. So, yeah, he goes to launch the missiles, and Simon Baker's character on this homing beacon thing, he also has a button that puts the covers back on the.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
What are you doing?
I'm ready to fire them
Nope.
armed, and he goes unarmed. Sorry.
And then throws it out the door, and it
Oh
gets
yeah, yeah, that's
destroyed
right.
on the ground. Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then
Yeah, I think
destroys the
the zombies
device.
start attacking Dead Reckoning then.
That's right. They all like surround the place, don't they? And there's a couple of good shots here, obviously, where we see like one of the zombies in the green night vision just like appear at the screen. That was, to be
Mm.
fair, I feel like of the whole film, that was the only sort of scare I got.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, it was a bit of a jump scare, but I was a bit like, whoa, didn't like that. They're all surrounding it, and I guess kind of like are they like sort of rocking it back and forth? Have we what's been going on
Uh,
with Big Daddy at this point? I think at this point he's just been.
they Wet goes in the water, right? He
Oh
leads them
yeah, yeah,
into the
yeah.
water. They get to the other side, and I think that's where he's like, "All right, yeah, you butcher guy,
So
get your hatchet and
yeah,
break through this."
I think so. Before then, I think we managed to see him trying to convince the zombies not to look at the fireworks like a bunch of mindless idiots.
Yes.
Just
Yep.
like obviously he's not affected by the fireworks. He's like, I've seen them all. I'm not interested. I'm bored. New Year's Eve, I ain't interested. Just leave me alone. But he's obviously is he grabbing their heads or is he kind of just like shouting at
Yeah.
them?
Uh,
Oh,
yeah, he pretty much is just shouting at them. But how about,
oh,
sorry, while I remember, how's that scene where, yeah, he's like, oh, stop looking at the sky flowers, and they're like the humans are coming through with all their machine guns, and he grabs the head, and then all of a sudden the
oh
body,
my God, yeah.
because of all the machine guns, somehow it misses him
Oh,
completely, and the whole body falls off, and he's just holding the head. And even when the head falls on the ground, it's still just looking up at the sky. Oh man, that
yeah.
was classic. That
It
was
is
good.
good.
I liked
He
it.
gra he, so he grabs like a gun off of the back of one of them who's like driving by,
Yeah,
doesn't
he
he?
does.
As
Yep.
well.
Yep.
Puts it on his shoulder. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
every
I
emo
need this for later. Like,
I'll have this for later, yeah. Um every emotion. He's going through every emotion, but with the same thing at
yep.
this stage. He's like pure like agony, anger, sadness. Like that's the
Yeah.
thing. Like we do understand that like he cares for these other zombies. He wants them to it's not just a case of he needs them to help him sort of like storm Fiddler's Green. Like he genuinely cares about whether they live or die. It seems at least.
Like I
Despite
really
that,
do think Romero was trying to make us feel sorry for the zombies. Like, but I don't think it landed as well as it um should have or could
yeah.
have. But yeah,
I
that
don't I
yeah.
don't know if oh, it's weird. I don't know if I've sort of felt sorry for them, but I was definitely towards the end kind of rooting for them in a way. Like
Mm,
just I think maybe just because I wanted the plot to kind of change direction, which is why I was
mm.
kind of thinking, yeah, come on. And when obviously, yes, they do sort of get into Fiddler's Green or whatever. But yeah, I think it does quite well at doing it. I think maybe some of the sounds silly, but maybe some of the zombie characters need to be fleshed out a little bit more. I don't know. I kind of just felt like everyone was mindless, but I don't know. I would have liked something. I don't know. I don't even know what I want there. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, when we see Big Daddy obviously jump into the water, this is quite interesting, isn't it? Because he obviously looks out and sees Fiddler's Green all lit up, and he looks into the water and he sees the reflection of it.
Mm.
And he's kind of looking back and looking down and looking back again. And at what point are we assuming that he goes, that's just a reflection, actually. Silly me. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
jump in. Um,
Yeah, I don't know. I don't, yeah, don't know what that thought process is.
how
And did he
it
do it with
says,
the intention of, I'm gonna swim? Like,
yeah,
yeah.
it was weird, isn't it? So it says here he learns that they can walk safely underwater, but I guess like he didn't know, he just took a risk.
No,
I
he,
just
he just jumped.
This is a big old risk. And also, I'm assuming if the water was the same depth the whole way around, like he couldn't have got out. He'd have just been like, I'm down here now. This is it. This is where I live.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
So yeah, essentially he jumps in the water, the other zombies like jump in as well. And he leads them across the river to this but there must have been another way to get there because we see the zombies at the electric fence earlier on, didn't we? So like, unless
Yeah.
that's like zombies that are in the immediate vicinity, these zombies are further out, so they're the other side of the river, possibly. Um, yeah.
Yeah, there had to have
So
been ways. He's just like, that's the shortest way.
that's the quickest way. My sat nav says straight across the river. Let's go. Um, so yeah, what else happens? I know Cholo obviously eventually ends up getting bitten as well. I
Yeah.
think this is the thing. This is the human stuff that I'm finding difficult to remember. I only watched it like 2 days ago. Crazy. It's the human stuff I'm not
And
remembering
yeah, he
very
gets
well.
bitten and he walks off from Dead Reckoning because he's like, no, I'm not gonna come with you guys. I'm gonna go off and do my own thing. And then his
Yeah.
mate pulls up the gun to
So
sort of put him.
his
Yeah,
mate, his name's Foxy, apparently.
Foxy. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, with his handlebar mustache.
Oh yeah. It was a good one.
Uh,
Um yeah. So he leaves so despite the fact he's been bitten, he still goes back to Fiddler's Green, doesn't he?
well, he sort
Like
of goes, I kind of want to see that's this line's classic. I kind of want to see how the other side live. Like, okay, sure.
fair enough. Why not? We could be fun. You know what I mean? Freedom. You ain't got to worry about anything these days. You don't got to be worried about getting bitten anymore. You're fine.
No.
Just getting your head blown off or um so yeah, now Riley's got Dead Reckoning, takes it over once again, and he's taking it back to Fiddler's Green. He's like, let's get ourselves back to Fiddler's Green. It's been a long, hard day. Um, and yeah, here it also says that due to the Rich's short-sighted negligence in combat training, the border guards are swiftly overwhelmed. So that's the zombies, isn't it? Coming out of the. How did they get out of the water? Why can't I remember this bit either? Do they just?
This is iconic for this film.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, of course,
and
the
how
head's
it,
coming
yeah,
out.
the
Yeah, yeah,
head.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
good. Yeah. No,
that
it's
was
good.
good.
So luck,
But
luck,
yeah, like you said, but what if the other side was,
the same.
like,
Yeah. If it was the same, they'd be screwed. But luckily, it's
he's
like
lucky it was a shore.
a shore. Yeah, so they come out. It is a good moment as well, and it like
Mm,
it's kind of like that, but it's also like the light from I guess from Fiddler's Green that kind of like lights them up as they're sort of coming out as well.
mm.
It is creepy as well, seeing all of these zombie heads coming out. Because it's weird. There are a few kind of like main character zombies, I guess. We've got like woman whose face is hanging off.
Yeah,
Yeah, obviously the
that
butcher.
that was
There's like a
the cheerleader, wasn't it, with the face hanging off?
I guess it must have been, yeah. Yeah, but
Because
she's
yeah, there was
lost her
three.
pom
There was
poms.
sort of three of them, and it was like, yeah, the butcher guy, the yeah, the cheerleader.
I I love it when we get like an iconic or a difficult to kill zombie in a zombie movie. You know, like
Mm.
someone who turns up, like for example, do you remember in the Dawn of the Dead remake when when they throw the gas canister and that guy lifts it up? The big,
Yes.
do you remember that? Oh,
Yeah.
I love that. I love that so much. It's just so cool. Obviously, yeah, it explodes and that zombie dies, but I love that. Or I just like it when a zombie like keeps coming back or like
Mm.
reappearing, like that fucking zombie again. Like that's terrifying. Like it's actually horrific. Like, do you have like a zombie in a zombie from a zombie film who you would say is the scariest?
Ah, I can't think of one off the top of my head.
I got two. If you want to
Um,
if you want to keep thinking, I've got two.
yeah, go on.
Dawn of the Dead. Do you remember like the woman who comes in the Dawn of the Dead remake? The woman who comes in the wheelbarrow.
Ah, yeah, yep.
Yeah. When she
Yeah.
turns, she does a horrible like leap up, and
Yes,
that always
that's
always
right. That was
because
terrifying.
it is actually terrifying. Of course, you get the baby as well, but I think that's a bit chilling.
Mm,
Or 28 days later, this is easily in my top five scares of all time. But in terms of a zombie, it also is terrifying. Walking into the church, there are dead bodies everywhere, piles of dead bodies.
mm.
Jim obviously doesn't know what's going on. He's looking for everybody. He says, "Hello," and about four of them turn. Do you remember
Yeah.
that? That
Yes,
that
that
is
was good.
chilling. But also then the priest who comes
Yeah.
smashing through and he hits him with a, a carrier bag full of like
Yes, full of
full of like
cans,
full of cans
cans
of
of
Fanta,
soda.
a bag of cans. I'm off to the park with a bag of cans, and smashing to death with it. I just thought, what a great weapon, almost like a pool ball in a sock scenario.
Have you covered that film?
Yeah,
28
yeah,
days
yeah.
later? Yeah, yeah, that's a
So
good one.
we done 28 days quite early on in the podcast, and we did do
Mm,
28 weeks. We did 28 weeks, I reckon, maybe late last year.
mm.
Um, but still, like, I know it's not a traditional zombie film, but at the same time, I just think
Oh, it's a
that that
classic now, though.
yeah, definitely. And that moment
Yeah.
where they all turn,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if
Uh,
it's kind of like the way it's shot as well, because you don't see the whole thing. It kind of like they turn and you kind of like zoom in on one and then switch to the other, and I'm like, oh my God, get out of there right now.
yeah.
Horrific.
Yes.
I
Yes.
guess I guess obviously in George Romero zombie films, we there are iconic zombies as well. Even the little girl at the start of Dawn of the Dead, the remake is pretty terrifying.
Mm, yep,
The way she
for
just like
sure.
shuffles into the room, and obviously they think, "Oh my God, you're the neighbor. What are you doing here? Are you okay? What's going on?"
Mm.
Horrible. I just hate the fact that it's it's frustrating, but it's also terrifying seeing characters approach zombies and
I know.
they have no context of a zombie or even anything being wrong. So like essentially the first instance of a zombie in a film, I'm always like, you got no chance because
No,
walking out to people going, are you all right?
you've been
You
under the weather.
drunk? I bet well, in Shaun of the Dead, obviously they just think that someone's drunk. Then they go,
Yeah.
oh my God, he's so drunk. I think Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright are apparently in this film as the photo booth zombies.
Oh, are
Yeah.
they?
So
I did not know that.
they're obviously made up to such a degree because I didn't recognize them at all in that
Yeah.
moment. And we do get so Tom Savini is Blades the machete
Mm.
zombie in this as
Yes,
well.
I remember him. So obvious.
It's so I mean it is just Tom Savini because they're like, right,
Yeah, pretty
can you
much.
maybe wear an outfit that doesn't make you look like Tom Savini? No, I'm definitely just gonna wear a leather
No.
jacket and
Yeah.
just the same basically the same outfit he wore in From Dusk Till Dawn, it looks like. Even down to the cock gun, probably. Uh, okay, so all the zombies are approaching. They're swarming Fiddler's Green. There's electric fences. Well, basically, like, the humans are trying to escape this area are like kept in by the electric fences. They like smash their
Yes.
way through the sort of glass door at the front. Um, Big Daddy has now got like a pneumatic drill. Is that what it's called? Like what's that thing called?
Jackhammer or something.
Jackhammer, yeah, like pneumatic drill thing, smashing it. And everyone's got a weapon now. Like people have got crowbars and machetes and various things. They're smashing their way through. And yeah, everyone in Fiddler's Green are vastly underprepared because people are getting. You'd immediately run, wouldn't you? But people are like getting
Oh,
just
yeah.
destroyed by these zombies. Grabbing up. There are a few good shots in this though. We see like a glass floor from underneath when someone like gets bit
Ah,
and like the
yes.
blood sprays
Yes.
out. I think that's good. There's a lot of CGI blood in this film, isn't there? Did you notice that?
Ah, yeah.
I think it's mainly for like gunshot stuff,
Yeah, yeah.
but
The
it
spray.
yeah, but it really I don't know. It's a shame. I feel like I'm glad that horror didn't really stick with CGI blood. I think some lower budget films now still do, but I
Mm.
feel that there was a period of time, maybe like mid 2000s to 2010, where even the bigger budget horror films still did like the CGI blood thing. I'm looking at you, Resident Evil franchise mainly. It was
Yes.
just it was almost like, yeah, all of the gunshot blood stuff we're gonna do CGI, and there was a lot of that in this. Not enough to like ruin stuff because I think there's still a lot of good practical.
Yeah.
Isn't there was a bit, and I was a bit like, how have they done this scene? Where it just looked like a man, someone turned up and grabbed him, and then they just ripped his whole face. Did you
Yeah.
remember that bit? It
There was
looked
a few
great.
things like that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a
It
few
looked
things
it
in
looked
this one.
fantastic. Almost where you're like trying to look at the. I mean, it obviously can't have been a person to start with, but it looks superb. People getting like faces ripped off. There's a lot of
Yeah.
like the
Face
bites
bitten
are
off.
good. The bites are good. Like these zombies are tearing ears off, tearing big
Oh,
old
there was
chunks.
one where there's a body on the ground and the zombie's got his whole arm up the guy's throat and he just pulls out all the yeah,
Yeah,
I was like,
it was
wow.
literally like there wasn't obviously a lot of the gore we saw was just like single bites, but it just felt like it got to a point where George Romero was just like, right, we gotta have someone getting ripped and all the guts coming
Mm.
out. We've got to, and that was where we saw this. Um, while this is happening, this is when Kaufman's like, right, we got to leave. Fiddler's Green is overrun. I got 2 bags of. Has he got like he's got loads of
Money,
money? Got
money.
2 bags of money. Kaufman, are you gonna take like a change of underwear or anything like that? Nah,
No,
nah, nah,
no,
nah.
just money.
Where
Wipe
I'm
my ass with
going,
money.
where I'm going, I don't need anything else.
No.
Um, and essentially he gets down to like the. Oh yeah, this is a weird thing. So Big Daddy Zombie like sees him. They like come face to face, Big Daddy Zombie and
Mm.
Hoffman. And he like tries to shoot him and miss. Well, he hits him in the body, but doesn't kill him. And then he says to him like, "You've got no right."
And he says that a few times in the film.
Mm.
Like, you've got no right.
He strikes me like, and I like what they did with this character, but I feel like they could have fleshed him out a bit more. Like it almost felt like he was coming to the. He was like a rich man, and he was talking to the zombies almost like they were like immigrants in a way. Do you know what I mean? Like you've got
Yeah,
no
yeah,
right. This is my
yeah.
place. Like I've paid for this. You're coming into this place, which is
Yeah,
my
just
like
the
essentially
entitlement.
the entitlement. Yeah, exactly. And
Mm,
I in those lines, I felt like I saw a bit of that, but I would have liked it if it was if there was if it was fleshed out a bit more.
mm.
Um, it could have been interesting, and maybe like a film if it was made now, maybe a character like that could be like a right, build a bloody wall, all right,
Well,
build the
right?
wall easily. Like as I said,
Easily,
like
yeah.
George Romero is society like commentaries and stuff like that.
Mm,
If this was made a little bit later, easily could have seen that. Whereas unfortunately, I feel like it does make Kaufman feel like a bit of a standard sort of villain, isn't it? There's not
mm.
loads going on. He gets like uh the elevator all the way down to the parking garage, and this is where so there's a couple of moments right where we see Cholo like walking from behind, don't we? And I think we're supposed to
Cholo.
think that's John Leguizamo.
Or like in the car park in the shadows.
So
Yeah,
initially, so we see
you
it.
don't know if
You
he's a
don't
zombie
know
or
if
not.
he's turned or
Yeah.
not. You're not sure.
Mm.
Obviously, when Kaufman sees him, he starts shooting him, and we see him get hit a few times. So we're like, okay, I'm pretty sure he's a zombie now.
Yeah.
Um, but this this parking garage not very well lit at all because at one point he's like 3 feet away from him, and his face is still completely in shadow.
Yeah.
And just this reveal as he walks forwards. Obviously, before this though is when um Big Daddy follows them all the way down there,
Mm.
and the assistant of Kaufman like runs away, and then Kaufman can't drive because he's got no keys, and then that is when Big Daddy puts the gas like nozzle
The front
thing
windscreen.
through the windscreen and is like filling it up. And actually, you know what? Maybe that does make sense if he is supposed to have been
Gas
a
attendant.
gas attendant.
Mm.
Can you just fill her up, please? Straight through the windscreen. Hang on a minute.
Uh,
Sorry. First day on the job. First day on the
yeah.
job. So
He
he does
says
that.
something I just wanted to go back to before we get down to the car
Mm.
park, which was a really funny bit,
Yeah.
um, where he sees his board member. And he's like, "Where you going? What's in the bags, man?"
Oh yeah.
And he's like, "Hey, look over there," sort of, and then
Yeah.
shoots it.
Oh my God. I've
I
just
loved
remembered
it.
that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What's
Like,
that
look
over
over
there?
there. Oh, bang. And then gets the call. He's like, "Oh, I just did something that I probably would have done differently if I'd known this information before."
Literally just called me 2 seconds later. It's like the ending of the mist. Right,
Yeah,
that's it. We're
yes,
all
yeah.
done. Bang. We're just here to save you. Oh, if you would have been here 30 seconds before, oh
Yeah.
my. To be fair, if that was how I died, right? If I was killed by someone going, look over there, I'd be
So angry.
human. I'd be so angry.
Yes.
You wake
Yes.
wake up in heaven or hell or wherever the afterlife may take me, and just be like, oh my God, no way. Look over there, fuck's sake. I suppose you wouldn't
Hmm.
expect to be shot in the back, but still,
No,
what a way to go.
no.
Um, so yeah, back
So yeah.
back then in the parking garage, Big Daddy just walks off like up the sort of ramp to like exit the thing, and maybe it's just me not remembering the film very well, but I was like, where's he going? Thinking I thought he was gonna blow him up, but no. It takes a few seconds, and a propane tank comes rolling down the ramp.
Yeah.
Obviously, just before we get Kaufman and Cholo coming face to face. Uh, what's he doing? Just trying to eat him, I guess.
Yeah, just trying to eat him. Yeah.
Just trying to eat him. But then the propane tank comes rolling down and just explodes, killing
It's
both of
weird
them.
that he goes back to him though. Like as a zombie, he goes straight back to his arch nemesis.
Yeah, yeah, but that's it. He was that's oh, he obviously had so much hatred for him that it just
Mm.
passed over into the afterlife, into the zombie life. Um, yeah, and essentially, so yeah, Big Daddy kills them both, and this is when Riley's group arrives at the city to like essentially like save the day. Initially, there's like the drawbridge is down, isn't it? This one is I
Oh,
think the
it's
zombies
up,
start up. That's what. Yeah, sorry, that's what I
and
meant.
he's
Uh, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And he's
Uh,
yeah, and Simon Baker's character's trying to, get it open, and it's another one of those moments where, hey, I'm gonna flex and shoot all these machine guns at you to open the door
I
to the
hated this
building.
moment. I hated this moment because there was a
What
moment
are you doing?
afterwards. There's a moment afterwards where he goes, "Right now, shoot,
All
now
right, now
shoot,"
shoot.
and they're busy doing something else.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
God. I just wouldn't have the patience if I was in this universe. I'm like, you're all idiots, for God's sake. If this is how I die. Yeah. So managed to put the bridge down. And then they cross the bridge, and this is where they see like, yeah, they see a bit where like loads of people are just getting eaten, and they like just
At the electric
missile
fence
them.
there.
Yeah, they just missile them. Oh yeah, because of course there's a bit where a lot of the people from Fiddler's Green are trying to escape. They can't because of the electric fence. The zombies
Yes,
are approaching, but then the fireworks start going off. So they're like, "Oh, thank God we're saved." But no,
doesn't work.
the zombies have progressed. The fireworks don't work anymore. They're not interested. They only want to eat your face. And yeah, that's when. And yeah, they mercy kill them, but like with missiles, which is very
Yeah,
horrific.
that's the thing. Like Simon Baker, the whole time, it's like a pivot for his character. It's like, no, don't kill him. No, don't kill him. And then they're like, oh, but there's people there. And he's like, they're already dead. Missile the crap out of them.
He saved it all up. He's like,
Yeah.
well, I've had at
Well,
least 10 instances where I've tried to do the right thing and they
yeah.
end up dead already. So maybe that's it.
Yeah.
Blow them all up. Um, so I think yeah, it's revealed that most of the sort of people who lived in the slums have been led to safety by it says Mulligan. I'm assuming that's obviously the leader guy, and that they all survived the assault. Um, and then we get Riley and Mulligan having a lovely goodbye.
Mm.
Yeah, that's weird. So they mercy kill everyone with missiles, and that's kind
Mm.
of it. That's the end of the
The
say
war.
the
Yeah.
war. Yeah, it's like there's not a moment where Riley where the Dead Reckoning turns up and saves anyone. It's like
Mm.
the end of the war is everyone's dead.
Yeah.
All the
Just
rich people
shoot
are dead.
a bunch of missiles, blow everything up. Oh, yep. Okay. Done. Job done.
We're all done. I'm guessing. it's supposed to like because all the rich people died and the poorer people survived. That's a common on something. Uh, and then we see. So it looks like I was kind of thinking Big Daddy and the zombies wanted to live in Fiddler's Green, but they're
No,
leaving. They're on their
no,
way.
they're out. They're going north. No, I don't
They're going to Norths apparently. All right.
know. Yeah. And then
Um,
it's like, oh, should we take care of them? Nah, don't worry about them. Let them go.
let them go.
Let them go.
They're just trying. What did he say? They're trying to find
They're just
somewhere
trying to
to
live or
trying to find a
yeah, what
place
did
to go or something like that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And then the final shot is Dead Reckoning driving away, just shooting some fireworks out.
yep.
I mean, I don't. What is the point of that? Is that like supposed to be a celebration, or just the fireworks are useless now? Because surely
Yeah.
the fireworks still work on the rest of the zombies, just not this
Well,
group.
yeah, you would imagine so. And he's like, ah,
But
just empty the tube. Just empty the tube.
yeah, come on, just get rid of them. Excess weight. It's excess weight. These fireworks. Oh wow. And that's it. That's landed. That's the end. Land of the Dead. Okay. I've got a little bit of a summit called the Name Game, where I'm going to give you a synopsis for a film, a zombie movie that sounds very similar to Land of the Dead, but isn't Land of the Dead. So it will rhyme in some way. So
Okay.
some are easier than others. Um, some are very bad, and I don't even know what clue I'm going to give you yet. So I'm just trying to work it out. Okay, so the synopsis. The living dead have taken over the world, and alas, humans live in a walled city to protect themselves as they come to grips with the situation. But there's a whole group of zombies on the other side of the river that are remembering what they did in in their lives. One of them used to be a drummer. The other one played bass. A couple of guitarists get together as well. And on vocals, it's Big Daddy himself. What's the name of this film?
I don't even
It
know.
it sounds like Land of the Dead. It rhymes with Land of the Dead. Only one word is different.
Band of the Dead.
It's Band of the Dead. And
Band
on
of the Dead.
vocals is Big Daddy with his lovely and the favorite song he does is oh, oh. That's all he's got. Okay.
It is.
What else have we got? The living dead have taken over the world, and the last humans live in a walled city to protect themselves as they come to grips with the situation. Uh, and Ash is involved as well, but unfortunately, he's lost an appendage, which has crawled into the wall and caused a blood flood inside a cabin. He's lost a certain appendage, Ash.
Arm of the Dead.
Nearly. Nearly.
Hand of the Dead.
Hand of the Dead. That's correct. Sorry. Sometimes I write these down and I don't think of the clue until I start speaking. So I do apologize about that. Okay. Let me just try and figure out what clue I can give you for this one. Okay. So the living dead have taken over the world, and the last humans live in a walled city to protect themselves so they come to grips with the situation. And they're also a little ragtag group, but they're not humans or zombies. They're dinosaurs, little baby dinosaurs, just trying to find their way home. I know that me raising my eyebrows does nothing to help the situation.
No. uh,
Little baby dinosaurs, little animated baby dinosaurs as well.
like Land Before Time. Is that what you're talking about?
You've got it. You've got it. But put that into the film.
It's Land of the Dead as well.
It's
Dinosaur of the Dead.
It's Land Before Time of the Dead.
Oh, Land Before. Okay.
Oh man,
I suck at this.
I don't know about that. I think you're only as good as the clues you're given. Um, okay. Again, how can I give you this clue? The living dead have taken over the world, and the last humans alive live in a walled city to protect themselves as they come to grips with the situation. But it's pretty boring in Fiddler's Green, and there's only one book to go around, and they're all sharing it. But luckily, it was written by Stephen King, and it's also about a world in ruins due to a man-made plague.
The Stand of the Dead.
There we go. That's much easier, isn't it? The Stand of the Dead.
Was.
Correct. Correct. And you may be happy to know that that's the last one. It tend Name game tends to be Andy's area of expertise, and when I have to deliver them, the results may differ. Yeah, they can be a bit dodgy. Okay, but well done. I'm going to give you 4 out of 4 for that.
Oh,
Congratulations. So now we've got to rate the movie. A to F. Pluses and minuses are allowed. Rate good or rate bad. What rating would you give Land of the Dead, Jimmy?
A to F, did you say?
A to F, yeah. A to F.
Um, I would I would say a B minus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Interesting. Would
yeah.
you like to elaborate on that
Maybe
at
when
all?
I first watched it, it was closer to an A minus. I think watching it, I used to watch
Mm,
this movie every year, every
mm.
year. But yeah, I haven't watched it for some time. Watching it again just really showed me there was. I felt like it was a little bit lazy, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some
I
of the
think that's
like we were talking about, some of the characters not fleshed out enough. But look, I don't know. I think 24 has ruined me. I think it has ruined my. I used to love B grade horror. It used to be my favorite thing, and
mm.
yeah, the I think this is was just it's too on the nose these days.
Mm.
There's nothing subtle about it. Um, but no, I still really enjoyed it. There were some really good moments though. Lots of gore, which is
Mm.
always great in a zombie film.
I
Some good
think,
one-liners in there.
yeah. Yeah, there's some good
Hey,
one-liners.
over there.
I think
Ah!
Big Daddy, Land of the Dead
Yeah.
2005.
Yes.
It's actually mad to say this, but I was about to say nearly 20 years later, this film's nearly 20 years old.
Mm,
I think we've seen so many other pieces of zombie media that
mm,
when we go back to films that perhaps we did enjoy at the time, we kind of feel a bit like, do you know what I mean? Like, oh, I've kind of seen this, or I've seen it done better, or like, I'm not so sure. Like, I enjoyed this film the first time I watched it enough so that
yeah.
enough that I
Yeah.
bought the DVD.
Same.
Um, but I feel like the things that I don't necessarily like in this film, I think the Big Daddy stuff is pretty cool.
It
I
is.
like it. I enjoy the sort of the directions that took in terms of zombie lore. That's interesting. I think anything that isn't just standard zombie lore always catches my attention. I think it's great. Now I watch it back, I feel like it's such an underwhelming ending. There's no like
Yeah, it was.
big standoff or like, and again, it's difficult to know who to root for because we end up rooting for someone who was essentially working for the villain anyway.
Mm,
Um, so it does become a point where you feel like you're rooting for the zombies, but I don't think we spend enough time with the zombies to actually truly root for them. Um, I think we kind of do want them to win in some way come the end, but I don't know. I feel like it is a little bit messy. I'm gonna go for a C plus. C plus, I think. I was gonna just go for a straight C. Just because, yeah, unfortunately it wasn't quite as enjoyable as I remember it being. But it's of its time, isn't it? And I think the fact that it came out 1 year after Dawn of the Dead,
yeah.
it kind of does make you think, despite the fact that this one is directed by the godfather of zombie movies, it still makes you kind of think, what a film to follow, because
Yeah.
it does so much interesting stuff in there and is genuinely terrifying. Whereas this is a bit hammy in places. Um,
See, like I didn't realize that this one came out 1 year after the remake of Dawn of the Dead, and they're so far apart. I
mm,
think to a degree, like it feels like Dawn of the Dead remake was well after this,
mm.
doesn't it?
It's weird, isn't it? Because I think as zombie
Mm,
fans, I bet I'm trying to picture how I felt at the time, and at the time I loved the film, but I remember knowing there was going to be a remake of Dawn of the Dead coming out. I remember thinking like, no, it ain't never going to be as good as the original, like that sort of
mhm.
attitude. And then obviously I came out thinking, oh my God, that was outstanding. And then
Mm.
Land of the Dead, when it came out, I was like, okay, now we get a George Romero zombie film 1 year after Dawn of the Dead. I wonder what this is going to be like. And yeah, it will just, I know it's a completely different film, but
Mm.
it just didn't hit the mark. And then unfortunately, I feel like Diary of the Dead and Survival of the Dead didn't either, but still pretty lucky that we still got another couple of zombie films after this from George A. Romero. Sweet. Lovely. Okay. So there we
Mm.
go. That's our review of Land of the Dead. Jimmy, where can our listeners find you online? Where would you like to direct everybody to?
Yeah, so just on any social at Jimmy Horrors, or jamesbarnettcreative.com to look at any of my work.
Amazing. We will put links in the show notes as well for all of that. Okay. So thanks everybody for listening. If you enjoyed the show, become a patron over at patreon.com/horror hangout. Thanks to all of our current patrons. Thanks to Taj Easton for our theme music. Thanks to Acast for hosting the show. Please consider giving us a rating or review. Um, and head over to Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, or YouTube. Just search Horror Hangout Podcast. You'll find us on all of those platforms. Next week, we're covering Scary Movie. Yes, it's true. Um, I think off the back of finding out there's going to be a new one. So we're going to watch this film and see how terribly it's aged. Or
Oh,
maybe it
yeah.
hasn't. Maybe it has. Maybe it hasn't. I don't know. Find out next week. But thanks again, Jimmy, for joining us. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me. It's
Thank
been
you.
great.
And one more message from Big Daddy. Oh, couldn't have said it better myself. See you later.
So, yeah.
Bye.